Indonesia needs a budget of more than 28,223 to be able to meet the needs of net zero carbon emissions, and the energy and transportation sector is the highest in its portion of the budget. Green economy is an economic concept that improves human welfare and social equality with a more environmentally friendly approach, and its economic growth must move in a socially inclusive manner. This green economy is one of the concepts development must achieve simultaneously. Literacy and public awareness regarding the green economy concept itself is an example of the obstacles faced by us to be able to implement this green economy concept in Indonesia. Don't delay any longer. Come together with us to support a green economy in Indonesia in order to achieve the RSDs, the SDGs, in 2030 for the sake of sustainable goodness in Indonesia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the high-level panel Green Economy Discussion in MIKTA, Mexico, Indonesia, Republic of Korea, Turkey, and Australia, supported by Ministry of Youth and Sports and Indonesian Youth Diplomacy. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin today's discussion, let me introduce myself. My name is Feira Yasmin, Co-Head of Studies and Research, Green Economy Youth Organization 2023. And I will guide you through today's discussion as your Master of Ceremony. Before we start, I would like to welcome Mr. Tritariat, Director of General of Multilateral Cooperation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Tri Purnajaya, Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, representative of Turkey Embassy to Indonesia, representative of Australia Embassy to Indonesia, Mr. Kanzi Rifantia, Indonesian delegate at MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023, Ms. Angelica Wiliana, Indonesian delegate at MIKTA Youth
Australia
Initiatives
Embassy
2023. In 2023, Indonesia is officially chosen as the chair for MIKTA. Indonesia believes that MIKTA must demonstrate its relevance amid the rise of multilateralism and unilateralism, with 22% of the entire MIKTA population being youth, approximately 123 million, holding significant opportunities and potential for the future. Indonesia's chairmanship for MIKTA includes a youth agenda, with Indonesian Youth Diplomacy designated as the official organizer for MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023. The 2030 Agenda and SDGs also become concerns of MIKTA. The rising challenges of our planet, such as loss of biodiversity, food shortage, and energy, need more commitment to invest in research, innovation, and infrastructure to strengthen the environmental sustainability and resilience. Green Economy Youth Organization would like to present a high-level panel Green Economy discussion on how MIKTA members are dealing with the issue. Before we begin today's event, please abide the following rules. All participants are expected to attend the entire high-level panel discussion event until the event ended. All participants are strictly forbidden to make a hassle or make a potentially problematic situation once entered the venue. Now, I will open this event by singing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. I invite all guests to stand for singing the Indonesia Raya. Now let's move, before that, I would like to, ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat again. Now let's move to the next agenda. We will hear MIKTA Youth Initiatives info session from Ms. Angelica Wiliana as Indonesian delegate at MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023. Please welcome Ms. Angelica Wiliana.
Honorable Director of Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Bapak Tri Punajaya. Honorable General Secretary of GYO, Kak Ailsa Numa. And the Honorable Representative of the Australian Embassy and the representative of the Mexico Embassy. And also my fellow Indonesian delegate, Kenzie. To fellow GEO and MIKTA committees and outstanding attendees. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. My name is Angel, and it is my honor to be representing the MIKTA Youth Initiative 2023 and the delegation of Indonesia at this esteemed event. We would like to firstly thank the Green Economy Youth Organization and the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia for facilitating this collaboration with MIKTA. We would like to also note with grief the ongoing crisis in Gaza, and we highlight the importance of strengthening multilateralism in solving this issue. What is MIKTA? A question I always get from friends of my age. MIKTA may not be as well known as ASEAN to youth communities, but that can and should change today. This is due to the fact that MIKTA plays a pivotal role in bridging the global need between developed and developing countries throughout the collaboration of global middle power like Mexico, Indonesia, South Korea, Turkey, and Australia. Hence, the MIKTA Youth Initiative is an important step to strengthen multilateralism between MIKTA countries and fostering people-to-people diplomacy amongst youths, our present and our future. MIKTA Youth Initiative is facilitated by the IYD, Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, and it is endorsed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As you can see from the slide, probably you can move on with the slide. IYD has also been responsible for the Y20 in Indonesia and the recent ASEAN Youth Agenda in 2023, and we are ever more excited for MIKTA Youth Initiative. Please proceed with the slide. As you can see here, it is never a dull moment when youths are involved, and it is never a bad idea to incorporate creativity and energy into fighting for the world peace. Next, please. The greater aim for MIKTA Youth Initiative is to bridge youths with relevant stakeholders and MIKTA leaders in fostering a sustainable collaboration that you can be a part to. Next, please. There are 3 priority topics that we bring in this year's MIKTA Youth Initiatives, and these are strengthening multilateralism, inclusive recovery, and digital transformation. As we are speaking today, the MYI, or the MIKTA Youth Initiative delegations, are working earnestly in building an inclusive and effective joint statement. Next, please. We recently had MIKTA Connect, a platform where the delegations are connected to the general public from MIKTA countries to listen to inputs and ideas that will be formulated into the joint communique. Next, please. These are the goals that we had for MIKTA Connect, and we achieved that yesterday for more than 200 participants. Next. Next, please. All in all, we call upon the attendees to a dialogue and collaboration with us. This is truly a start of a stronger multilateralism and an accelerated sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Angelica, for the insightful presentation of MIKTA Youth Initiatives. Next up is from the co-chair of Green Economy Youth Organization, Mr. Kistan Ghazi. Please welcome Mr. Kistan Ghazi.
Tes. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. And may God's blessing be upon us. Dear Honorable Mr. Tri Purnajaya, as Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Kenzi Rifantia, as Indonesian Delegates at MIKTA Youth Initiative 2023, and also Ms. Angelica Wiliana as Indonesian Delegates at MIKTA Youth Initiative 2023. I also want to express my deepest respect and gratitude to the Ministry of Youth and Sports for providing such a magnificent venue so that the event can run well. I also don't forget to express my thanks to my colleagues at the Green Economy Youth Organization and also Indonesian Youth Diplomacy, who have tried their best in preparing for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, on this happy occasion, I would like to convey several things. Green Economy Youth Organization, or GEO, is an association that operates in the green economy sector. GEO aims to spread this spirit to young people throughout Indonesia and global. To achieve this goal, we have several programs such as Local Conference of Youth Indonesia, forums, studies, community service, and creative campaigns. We present to you this high-level panel discussion to provide an overview of the potential and challenges of green economic cooperation at the MIKTA level. MIKTA is a multilateral cooperation between Mexico, Indonesia, the Republic of Korea, Turkey, and Australia. Green economic cooperation is a demand so that the current and future generation can live better socially, economically, and environmentally. I hope that this event can be an inspiration for all those present at this place, such as participants, committee, and also the speakers. We, the Green Economy Youth Organization, would be very grateful if the results of this discussion could be conveyed to your closest colleagues and also your family. Lastly, I would like to thank the audience for attending this amazing discussion. Don't forget to continue following GEO activities on our social media to find out about development in the green economy. Green Economy Youth Organization, you are green, you are the future. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Kistan, for the inspiring speech. Now we are going to hear the opening remarks from Mr. Tritariat as the Director General of Multilateral Cooperation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please welcome Mr. Tritariat.
Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate Green Economy Youth Organization, GEO, for organizing this panel discussion on the green economy within the context of MIKTA. Let me begin by providing a brief introduction to MIKTA. MIKTA serves as a forum for middle power countries comprising Mexico, Indonesia, South Korea, Turkey, and Australia. This year, Indonesia has had the privilege of assuming the chairmanship of MIKTA. In this role, we are committed to fostering deeper cooperation among MIKTA countries through a range of tangible initiatives. Last September, MIKTA convened a leaders gathering for the first time on the sideline of the G20 New Delhi Summit. Additionally, just a few weeks ago, MIKTA also organized a capacity building webinar aimed at enhancing agricultural productivity in Africa. MIKTA's significance is on the rise, particularly amid the escalating polarization among the world's major powers. Consequently, we are leveraging Indonesia's chairmanship to position MIKTA as a bridge builder between divergent global perspectives. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, this year marks the 10th anniversary of MIKTA since its founding in 2013. Over the past decade, the world has undergone significant transformations and new challenges continue to surface. One of the challenges that demand our collective response is climate change. However, despite this existential challenge posed by climate change, there are still debates among nations. Developed countries often advocate for increased ambition without fully meeting the climate change commitments that developing countries genuinely require. Herein lies an opportunity for MIKTA as an honest broker to play a pivotal role. One of the excellent starting points for this is by initiating discussions on the green economy. A green economy grounded in circular economic principles and supportive of environmental sustainability holds the potential to address climate change while fostering job creation. I trust that through this initiative, GEO can contribute to identifying actionable steps for mobilizing MIKTA in promoting green economic cooperation. I look forward to having a productive discussion today, and I thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Tritariat, for remarkable opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will enter the moderated session of the high-level panel Green Economy discussion in MIKTA. This session will be moderated by Ailsa Numa Adilukita. Ailsa Numa Adilukita is the General Secretary of Green Economy Youth Organization. She is currently majoring in economics at the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia. She also has experience in several student organizations such as ISAC, Fashion Weeks, Studentpreneurs, and Economics, Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia. Please welcome Ailsa Numa Adilukita.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Numa. Nice to meet you all. I'm going to be the moderator for this high-level panel discussion. Okay, well, without any further ado, let me introduce the speakers for today's discussion. The first speaker is Mr. Tri Purnajaya, as Director for Development, Economic and Environmental Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For Mr. Tri, you may come forward and have a seat. Okay. For our second speaker is Kak Kenzi Traipantia as Indonesian Delegate for MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023. Besides that, Kenzi is also a Policy Analyst intern at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Republic of Indonesia. For Kak Kenzi, you may come forward and have a seat. Firstly, I want to say thank you for coming here. How are you today? Good? Okay. Great to hear that. Okay. Well, as you guys know, I'm gonna explain a bit about what we're gonna discuss in today's session. So, as you guys know that Indonesia, being the host of MIKTA chairmanship this year, which is a very great opportunity for Indonesia to dig deeper in terms of what these multilateral corporations need to improve, and specifically in terms of green economy. Well, as you guys know, that green economy is a very crucial topic to discuss in terms of a fast-changing climate that leads to a food security declining and also an urgent sustainable energy innovations. So as being said, these are all important topics that MIKTA will have to cooperate in the future also. So, well, let's just jump to the session. Okay, for Kak Kenzie, you can present your material first. Okay, well, the slides, please.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to stand up for my presentation. Mohon izin, Bapak, saya berdiri. To reignite the youth spirit before we start today's discussion. Ya. On behalf of the Indonesian delegation for MIKTA Youth Initiatives, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Kenzie. I'm here representing Indonesia in the digital transformation track, along with my fellow delegate Angel, who is also present today, and our colleague Ridwan. We represent your voices in MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023. Now, our discussion today is very remarkable and also urgent to convene, because while the issue of green economy is not explicitly one of the main topics of MIKTA this year, it is also integrated into a lot of aspects in our life, and it's very concerning for youth to be urgently addressed now. So let's begin. Next slide, please. Angel previously have explained about what MIKTA is and why it is urgent to be held. Also, we are privileged enough, Pak Tri said before, we are privileged as Indonesia to hold the chairmanship of MIKTA this year under the three main priority topics of discussion. The first is strengthening multilateralism, second is inclusive recovery, and we have also digital transformation. None of these topics explicitly mention green economy. However, the issue of sustainability is integrated into all of these three topics, which we will bring up later on. Next slide, please. Now, why is this urgent to be discussed? First and foremost, the youth of MIKTA share several common concerns. We are very concerned about our employment, especially when we finish our education, entering the workforce, and we find ourselves in a very competitive environment. If we compare the statistics of 5 MIKTA countries, it's actually quite diverse. But several of its members, namely Indonesia and Turkey, we share a common characteristic, which is a quite high degree relative of unemployment, according to World Bank data last year. And in order to address these concerns of unemployment, we need to consider several important trends that are happening globally. First and foremost, there will be plenty of green jobs, 4.4 million new green job opportunities that will be available in Indonesia by 2030. This is data taken from Bappenas, Ministry of National Development Planning. Now, this is a huge opportunity for youth, but how will we take that into actual benefits for youth? We need several foundational capital in order for us to compete in the job market and take advantage of these opportunities. The second trend, which is directly connected, is the need for digital skills and literacy to compete in these job markets. Because the new job opportunities require new set of skills, require a high degree of knowledge and literacy on all sorts of issues. And in order for the youth to be prepared to face these new realities in the future, we need to establish a solid foundation from today. And the last trend that we need to consider is the need for multilateral collaboration to combat climate change amidst global tensions. We are very well aware that today we're facing several conflicts in several parts of the globe. this hampers collaboration in solving what is humanity's most urgent issue, which is climate change. The existence of conflicts need to be bridged and solved in a manner that is inclusive to everyone and brings benefits to everyone without excluding anyone. And that is why we need multilateral collaboration, and this is where MIKTA stands in its position as a grouping of middle powers to bridge these gaps between the developing and developed world, between the West and the East, between the global North and the global South, and of course the youth are in the center of it all. And the second concern that we also share between the youth of MIKTA is the worsening crisis, especially in the climate, but also in other dimensions of our lives. First and foremost, after the COVID-19 pandemic, we experienced economic shocks, and in the process of recovering, we are faced with a condition of low growth, low investment, and global conflicts that cause a high degree of inflation, not just in the developing world, but also countries in the global north. This is a common characteristic that we share. And secondly, this situation also impacts other aspects of our economy as well, increasing cost of living, decreasing the ability to mitigate natural disasters, and also the threat that we may not be able to solve climate change in time before it turns into an actual emergency. Well, it already has, but nevertheless. We are also experiencing, still struggling to decrease carbon emissions around the globe. If we take into consideration per capita, maybe in MIKTA countries, we are faring quite decent. However, if we take a look at the global trends, increasing competition between great powers, they may contribute as well to increasing carbon emissions if not solved properly in the name of humanity and solving climate change. And most importantly, the youth as the center of it all, we hold a high degree of interest in this issue, not just because we have the loudest voice, but we're also the most impacted group, especially the youth who are not in employment, not in education, and not in training, or NEET. They're the most vulnerable group to climate change. When environmental disasters happen all around the globe, especially in Indonesia, the youth who are not properly educated, who are not economically sound, they bear the greatest burden from climate change. That is why we care so much. Now, next. The youth are the key actors because we have the capacity to be agents of ecological transformation towards a more sustainable future. However, we are also at a high risk of being excluded from the policymaking process. We do observe that in recent years, there has been increasing inclusion of youth voices in all levels of public policymaking, from the government to civil society sectors and also the academic community. However, if this trend is not increased in a manner that includes youth voices and realizes what our common concerns are, we may also be excluded from the policies that are made, and also from the external factors that also affect our daily lives. Now, in order to combat this, the Indonesian delegation at the MIKTA Youth Initiatives, from all three tracks, we convene, and we would like to bring all of these concerns from youth, not just from Indonesia, but also considering voices from Mexico, from Australia, Turkey, and South Korea, in order to come up with a joint solution to what is now our common problem. So the position of the Indonesian delegation, next slide, please. We have had several discussions over the past few weeks with our fellow delegates from MIKTA member countries. Each track has its own specific set of recommendations, but I will highlight some of the points that are directly intertwined with the issue of green economy. First and foremost, of course, the main recommendation that will affect how we transform into sustainable economic practices is under the inclusive recovery track. But the track of strengthening multilateralism and digital transformation also play a very important supporting role. In strengthening multilateralism, Indonesia is represented by Angel. One of the key initiatives that we would like to bring is to bring cross-cultural engagement mobility. This is a student exchange program basically between MIKTA member countries so that we could build understanding of each other. Angel previously mentioned that MIKTA is not as well known as other international organizations or groupings at the moment, but we do intend to change that. We want to increase awareness from the public, especially the youth, on MIKTA and how we, even though we are a very diverse grouping of countries, we have common characteristics, common issues that we care about, and we have common solutions that can tackle those issues. And hopefully this exchange program can bring us together in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Secondly, from inclusive recovery, we have several recommendations directly related to green economy. First and foremost, we need to prioritize nature-based solutions, ecosystem-based approaches in developing our economy, and also putting investment where it actually matters for the environment, which is in natural capital. Secondly, we need to promote corporate environmental and social responsibility. The issue of climate change not only could be tackled by the government and by society alone, but also the private sector and other sectors in our communities need to be involved. Primarily through policies such as extended producer responsibility, waste management, and also the carbon market, which in Indonesia we've had recently just launched. And lastly, and under the inclusive recovery track, we need to map out what green jobs will be available and how will the youth take part in those opportunities in the future. We need to develop a streamlined job placement system so that the youth who are most interested and most capable and committed to fulfilling these opportunities, they can directly take advantage of those trends in the future and not be left out from the job market. Now, and under the digital transformation, trends in digital transformation have a huge potential in pushing forward sustainable practices. But unfortunately, not all of youth in MIKTA countries and around the world can enjoy the maximum benefits of digital transformation. Why? First and foremost, because some of them lack infrastructure, lack basic digital infrastructure to access those digital services, especially those living in underserved and remote areas. That is why we would like to highlight to ensure affordable and equitable internet, digital connectivity, and technology, we need to continue developing these necessary infrastructure, especially in those underserved areas, so that all youth can be included in the digital transformation and can contribute to a more sustainable future. Next. All right, that is the position of the Indonesian delegation, and we would like to ask each and every one of you if you have any ideas or recommendations, anything that you would like to point out from the perspective of youth to be brought into discussions in MIKTA, you may please feel free to reach us out. The Indonesian delegation would like to thank each and every one of you for your support, and we hope to continue representing your voices in MIKTA Youth Initiatives 2023. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Kenzi. Kak Kenzi highlighting the parts where youth as the center of the growth, not just in Indonesia, but for all MIKTA's country, also in the world, to tackle all the global challenges afterwards, and also by making Indonesia and MIKTA's country and even the world a better place to live in the future by many opportunities of green jobs. Okay, well, now to Mr. Tri. I would like to ask you, maybe you can tell us about Indonesia's MIKTA's chairmanship this year. Maybe you can tell us more about that, and what are Indonesia's expectations towards MIKTA on green economy cooperation ahead? Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. A very good afternoon. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much to the organizers for organizing this event. I'm very grateful to the MIKTA Youth Initiatives and the Green Economy Youth Organization, GAYO, for this invitation. I cannot emphasize enough the important and the critical role of our youths. You are, after all, our future leaders. We depend on you so much. And I hope you're all inspired as much as I am today after listening to Kenzie and Angelica's presentation. I'm not going to stand up because I'm not as useful as Kenzie is. My children are the same age as Kenzie, probably. And this year, since the handover of MIKTA chairmanship from Turkey to Indonesia in March this year, I personally have witnessed tremendous events. I attended the ministerial meetings. I attended the SOM senior official meeting. I attended the leaders, heads of government meetings. We helped organize those meetings. And even yesterday, 2 days ago, I was part of the delegation for the MIKTA Parliament or Speakers Consultation, headed by Ibu Puan, the Ketua DPR, the head of Indonesia's parliament. So I feel encouraged that this year Indonesia has been playing an active role. I think we should all be proud of. Not only we are chairing ASEAN, I think we last year was presidency of G20 quite successfully. This year ASEAN, and now since March of this year until March of next year, Indonesia is chairing MIKTA. And maybe you've heard the presentation made by my Director General, and probably you've heard some of you probably know more than others, but MIKTA is actually still around 10 years since its inception, beginning of I think 2013. So this is a special year. We are celebrating the 10th anniversary of MIKTA, and Indonesia is the chair. As middle powers possess a significant advantage in promoting peace and stability, we believe that MIKTA has the diplomatic agility, flexibility, and a non-confrontational nature. Because unlike major powers, middle powers such as MIKTA, we refrain from engaging in power struggles. That's basically like our attitude, at least. Making MIKTA well suited to mediating disputes and building bridges among nations. I believe that throughout the 10 years since MIKTA was established, we have learned each other's experience and worked together closely in a number of areas. And which was mentioned by, I think, my Director General, how MIKTA is actually quite a unique group of nations. It is geographically, culturally, linguistically, and religiously diverse group. We are representing 4 out of 5 continents: the Americas, Europe, Asia, Australia, and of course, MIKTA, we don't have a representative from Africa. And this diverse membership just showcases how middle powers can actually leverage their collective influence to address global issues effectively. At least that's what we believe how MIKTA have been serving in the last 10 years. And with regards to the role in the global order, MIKTA began as a forum of discussion among MIKTA foreign ministers at the beginning in 2013. And now it has, this year, we've seen the leaders, the heads of governments, state meeting in the same room, sitting down, discussing global issues and whatnot. And I think what I learned from these meetings from ministers, senior, as well as the speakers consultation, is that the MIKTA members tend to be very cordial amongst each other. We have more in common than differences. If there's 2 things in common, or the common denominator of MIKTA is that they're all democratic countries, functioning democracies, and they are also middle power. So And amidst the current geopolitical fragmentation, the challenges, the geopolitical tensions, we believe that MIKTA has actually come out with a unique voice, so to speak, because why MIKTA comprised of not only developing but also developed. We have Australia in MIKTA, we have Indonesia, we have Turkey, we have Korea. So it's a unique combination, and we as MIKTA members, the countries, we have played a unique role, and quite interestingly, we've been respected in respective regions. Indonesia is a big country, right, in the region, Southeast Asia, and Mexico in the Americas, and Turkey in Eurasia, and Korea in East Asia. So we have indeed contributed quite significantly, not only as a member, but a group of MIKTA, but also as individual countries. I think, I believe that maybe if you follow the news last year, how the war in Ukraine has impacted the global food chain or the and energy as well. So we had last year, so to speak, challenge in the food security. So, and Turkey took the initiative and facilitated the Black Sea Grain Global Deal, which believe helped actually to debottleneck the issue of food or grain exports and imports. So in a way, Turkey, as one of the MIKTA members, has actually contributed directly. And this year, Indonesia's chairmanship focuses on rebuilding trust and advancing concrete cooperation in Indo-Pacific. This is part of our contribution for more stable and prosperous region. These are just some of the examples. And remember last year, Indonesia was chair presidency of G20. So in the midst of the geopolitical tensions, I believe we played a quite impressive presidency and leadership role. And Indonesia, coming from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I can openly admit that we Indonesia, we have never shied away from our responsibilities, whether it's regional, global, multilateral, minilateral. I mean, the role we've played, we've tried to be as active member as possible in any kind of mechanisms. So we've also been quite critical towards the, for example, the UN reforms, and we push for more, representation of developing countries in the various multilateral arrangements, including the multilateral development banks, and for it to be more inclusive, for it to be more open and transparent. And of course, this year we have the privilege of chairing MIKTA in an unprecedented situation, indeed, a multidimensional crisis. And therefore, Indonesia, I think it was also mentioned earlier, we have three priorities, namely strengthening multilateralism, because we believe, I think most of you believe that the multilateralism is the best way forward to ensure that all countries are on equal footing and can prevent the mighty from taking all. This is the basic premise, of course, why we need multilateralism to serve its purposes. And secondly, on inclusive recovery, this is our second priority of MIKTA challenge. For us, I think for the world, SDG remain at the core of the global agenda, and also for MIKTA, for development, to bolster the inclusive dialogue with external partners as well. And I think it's important that as MIKTA members, we can contribute positively. We have to become a positive force to address the key challenges and provide solutions. That's our main intentions. And the third is the digital transformation. I think it's critical to continue to build the norms, sharing of best practices, and forging collective responses, which are actions that MIKTA must intensify. And such priorities will reflect MIKTA's commitment to international peace, stability, and prosperity. This is what we have been aiming to do, and we will continue to do in the next 10 or 100 years from now. I think so. We believe in the last 10 years we've done incredibly enormous achievements, and of course there are some, as you know, individually countries, when they chair the MIKTA, they have different priorities. And this year, Indonesia, as I mentioned, the 3 priorities. We'll see next year will be Mexico's turn. And Mexico will, of course, they have their own priorities. So, by the way, every year, the foreign ministers of MIKTA usually meet at least twice a year. One during the FMM G20 meeting, because as you all know that all MIKTA members are formally or technically are G20 members, and as well in the sideline of United Nations General Assembly. So they meet at least twice, at least. So this is a good actually practice, and not to mention the SOM, they also meet on a regular basis. And on contribution in advancing green economy, on the issue of green economy, of course, one of MIKTA's key contribution lies in its ability to pool diverse resources and expertise. Therefore, I have 3 points to be highlighted in this afternoon. First, each member brings a unique set of experiences, technological capabilities, and sustainable practices to the table. So it's a good thing that MIKTA is on a regular meeting on various platforms and forums. I attended some of their meetings as well, where they have intensive discussions amongst experts, line ministries, governments, and even think tanks. For example, Korea is renowned for its innovation in renewable energy technologies. Australia possesses extensive knowledge in sustainable agriculture and resource management. Mexico is actively investing in green infrastructure, including sustainable transportation. And at the same time, Indonesia has significant potential for renewable energy sources, including solar, wind, and geothermal energy. So these unique and very promising potentials, we can leverage from each other's strengths. And I believe that MIKTA nations, we as collective can address the multifaceted challenges in terms of the green economy and so forth. And second, MIKTA's commitment to fostering green growth is evident in its collaborative initiatives and policy dialogues. The member countries actively engage in knowledge sharing forums, workshops, and joint projects aimed at promoting environmentally friendly practices. Through MIKTA Development Cooperation Network, our chairmanship has also developed joint project in enhancing agricultural productivity in Africa. I attended this forum about, I think, 1.5 months ago. It was held here, platform at least shared online. Basically, MIKTA wanted to provide some share and contribute to the development of agriculture sector in Africa. So this is something that MIKTA has been doing in terms of its contribution to see a much better world and to see more stable and prosperous world. And basically, during the event, the group advocates for ambitious international agreements and frameworks that prioritize environmental conservation and sustainable development. And last July, our chairmanship also produced a MIKTA joint statement at the 2023 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. Basically, the event was to encourage concrete actions to walk the talk. So with international cooperation, Indonesia has been actually quite vocal in terms of making sure that developing as much as developed countries play their role, and to actually walk the talk, not just talk the talk. So we want to see more action-oriented countries in terms of, for example, net zero emissions. I think I've said a lot, right? How many minutes more do I have? Okay, so I'll just summarize a bit what we have done, at least in this year. I think to name a few, we have done the policy planning consultation in Yogyakarta. We have MIKTA Development Cooperation Network in Bali. We have organized senior officials meeting in Bali, academic gathering in Jakarta, MIKTA Foreign Ministers meeting, and recently Young Diplomat program in Jakarta, where a group of MIKTA young diplomats were here in Jakarta for a week to share their experience and to learn about Indonesia as well. And the 9th MIKTA Parliamentary Speakers Consultation. And the most monumental event this year, I believe, is the MIKTA Leaders Gathering, which we believe this is a milestone. It was never done before. So the MIKTA leaders at one time last year had a photo session. That was it. It was a photo session. It was a good momentum to continue to build. So this year we intend, and then our Director General Kemlu, Minister of Foreign Affairs, we decided to go ahead and let's see and we did it during in the sideline of G20 summit. So it was very promising. It was very encouraging to see all the leaders of the 5 MIKTA members sitting in a room, cordially engaging actively and discussing world and global issues and trying to address the challenges. And during the meeting, the leaders agreed to enhance MIKTA's role in building understanding and consensus, advancing democracy and dialogue, striving to find pragmatic and creative solutions to regional and global challenges, and defending the multilateral system and rules-based. President Widodo of Indonesia emphasized MIKTA to serve as a positive force. That's it. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tri. Well, actually, I have a question for both of you. So one of you can answer the question. Well, okay. All MIKTA's members actually has a very big potential in terms of maritime power. Maritime power. Yeah. Well, could you share insights into Indonesia's blue economy initiatives and how they align with broader global efforts for marine conservation within MIKTA? Just in your view. Maybe Kak Kenzi, you want to start first, or Patrick first? Who wants to start first? It's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so blue economy. Unfortunately, up until today, we've had so many discussions with the delegations of other countries in MIKTA Youth initiatives, but I think blue economy is underrepresented in these discussions. As in, you're right that we have potential. Countries like Indonesia and Australia were quite known as maritime countries. But however, the discussions on how to maximize these potentials has not come into fruition that optimally yet. As far as I know from previous research experiences, countries like bilaterally Indonesia and South Korea, for example, we've had talks between senior officials in order to combat illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Because Indonesia can share its best practices with Korea, which also faces that problem in their exclusive economic zone. And these potentials, I think, also need to be highlighted in further discussions. Unfortunately, that's all I can share, because what we've had so far in previous discussions has not really mentioned blue economy that much. But I do agree that our potential is there. Maybe Pak Tri would like to add on to that. Yeah.
Bonus points.
First of all, I cannot speak on behalf of MIKTA members individually. I mean, I'm only representing Indonesia in this case. So I think I believe that, of course, maritime conservation is an important topic, and Indonesia, 2/3 of Indonesia is ocean, right? And if you are following what's happening in the last month ago or 1.5 months ago, Indonesia hosted the Archipelagic and Island States Forum. As we all know, the impact of climate change will be affected mostly by the island countries. So therefore, Indonesia organized and have been since 2018 how the countries, island and archipelagic countries, they can actually have a say and sit down together to discuss how we can address and to address some of what we're saying a bit, marine conservation, because we believe that the potentials are enormous, not only blue economy but also other sectors. And I'm very happy to share with you that last year during the ICE Forum, I like to say in short, Archipelagic Island States Forum, 32 countries participated and 4 international organizations, namely ASEAN, UNDP, MSG, and Pacific Island Forum attended the high-level meeting. And the ICE Forum addressed some of the key challenges in addressing climate change, as much as on marine, including mitigation and adaptation of from climate change, especially in the coastal areas, and marine debris on issue. And so there are, if you want to have a look at the leaders' declaration, you can see a number of points, important articles related to marine conservation and the advancement of marine economy or blue economy, and of course to strengthen the governance of the marine. So these are just amongst some of the contributions that Indonesia has made in terms of marine conservation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tri. Okay, I think I would have one more questions for both of you. Just a brief answer, it's okay. It's about youth. What are the concerns of the youth delegations for Kakenzi in the field of green economy at the MIKTA chairmanship, and how do you disseminate the joint statement of MIKTA youth initiatives? And for Mr. Tri, maybe can you highlight just a bit of Indonesia's pursuit of funding for energy transition that you mentioned earlier, and how it aligns with the nation's commitment to clean and renewable energy sources, maybe like a real implementation and application.
Thank you.
Who wants to start first?
Okay, so first and foremost, the youth concerns regarding green economy in MIKTA countries. I've presented before that one of our primary concerns is regarding employment, not just regular job opportunities, but we've seen trends that green jobs are they're part of the future job market. So what MIKTA Youth is concerned is how we can take advantage of those opportunities, prepare ourselves with the skills, education, and competence necessary to take part in the green economy in the future, and how we can have a space to actualize our creativity, innovate in economic sectors that also consider sustainability in its practice. In our discussions we've had so far, we've highlighted the need to establish ecosystems that are conducive to the youth creativity, especially if you've seen some independent youth initiatives from MIKTA countries. Of course, I'll take an example of Indonesia. We do care and notice whenever there's any small environmental issue happening near our neighborhoods. Maybe, for example, the most well-known, you've heard of Pandawara Group before. They're very, very keen on solving waste management issues, which are mostly neglected by some regional governments in Indonesia. Not just in Indonesia, of course. The youth in all MIKTA countries and all around the world, they have this knowledge and interest in solving these issues. However, they need resources, they need funding, they need skills, and they need support from other sectors of society in order to tackle these problems effectively. Because no matter how much interest that we show for these issues, we will not be able to solve them independently without collaboration from other sectors, especially from the government, from the private sector, from civil society, and from the academic community and media. That's why one of the approaches that we take in the joint statement was to involve all these stakeholders. We call it the pentahelix approach, in creating policy recommendations that can be actionable with collaboration from all these 5 stakeholders. We do plan to disseminate this joint statement so that it becomes a reality, not just a written document. Later on, after the final agenda of the MIKTA Youth Initiatives have been conducted after early December, we do plan on socializing what we've discussed so far with MIKTA member countries and how these stakeholders that I've mentioned before can take part in realizing each of the points that we will write in the joint statement. For example, we can involve the regional governments in taking part on waste management initiatives. We can involve several companies in taking part for environmental responsibility, and so on and so forth. Hopefully, after the MIKTA Youth Initiatives agendas have all been conducted, these following stakeholders will have open arms to welcome us in disseminating this joint statement later on.
Okay, thank you. And maybe Indonesia would have another Pandawara group, you know?
Amin. I hope so. A lot of Pandawaras everywhere around Indonesia and MIKTA countries.
Okay. For Mr. Tri? Okay.
Thank you. So I work for the Ministry Department for Multilateral Cooperation. So I don't do like direct dealing with the banks or whatever. We focus on the multilateral discussions and agreements, and basically at the multilateral level, whether it's G20 forum or MIKTA, whatever, at the UN and the Energy Working Group, for example, we focus on how we can, developing countries have what you call, I think, of course we have global responsibilities, but we want the developed countries and developing to actually work together, and how, first of all, the issue of funding the energy transition, right, is something that is difficult and expensive to achieve, and therefore, if you probably follow the issues, I think the energy transition is something that Indonesia looks forward to, and it was actually one of the highlights of Indonesia's presidency last year. And in part, we want to see a just transition. A just transition meaning that the developing countries also have the opportunity or the rights to development, but at the same time to have different phase or different time for example, in phasing out fossil fuel and much longer term in terms of net zero emission. For developing countries, it's 2060, if not earlier. For major economies or developed countries, it's 2050. And we hope that the funding for this energy transitions can be supported because this is conditional for developing countries to achieve net zero. It's conditional with international support. Of course, we want to see more technology transfer and capacity building, but I think there will be still a lot of discussions and negotiation going on. there will be COP28 in the coming weeks, early next month. So energy is part of the a big chunk of the energy or the net zero initiative. So I think it's important for all of us to seek solutions and find a more cleaner and renewable source of energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. Well, we all hope so too, because maybe there's many youth that want to invest in, building a new more innovations in sustainable energy that maybe, it can help Indonesia and also the world finding a new breakthrough in energy issues. Okay, well, now we're going to open 20 minutes of interactive Q&A with the audience. Okay, do you have any questions? Are there any questions from the audience? No? Okay. Oh, I'll cancel first.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Kansa and I'm from University of Indonesia. And I'd like to thank the speakers here for delivering such insightful discussion. And I'd like to ask, what is the best way to disseminate information through all layers of the youth in Indonesia, knowing that we have a gap in education, and we know that we can't really generalize that everyone here has the same level of knowledge, especially towards green economy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the questions. Who wants to answer first? Mr. Tri or Kakenzi first? Okay.
So the question is how we can disseminate effectively, you mean?
Yes.
The green economy? Well, I think, first of all, this kind of event is actually quite effective, but I don't know how many audience outside this room is watching us. Of course, the role of youth without the support of the government or the public or the private sector is meaningless. I think of course, the youth has to be supported. Like for example, this Ministry of Youth, right? I think they also provide support. I think at least, I'm very optimistic that Indonesia's youth is quite promising. And by your active participation and role and engagement with various groups, not only government but also academia or the civil society, the media also play an important role. And I'm very optimistic through the engagements with various members of the society. For example, Indonesia, we're now, next year we will be organizing the World Water Forum, and they have a youth section there, a group of youth who are also participating in the discussion and the political process. So the engagement with youth now is quite important, and they also have a voice, at least, in various organizations, and I'm very optimistic that our youth in Indonesia will continue to contribute, and on the topic is green economy, and of course Indonesia has a lot of potentials, as we call mega biodiversity. So I believe that we have a huge potential, and it's up to the youth how we manage, partly of course, how we manage our resources so that we have our economy continue to grow and bring prosperity to the people, and we can share it to the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tri. Yeah, Kakenzi.
Okay, thank you for the question, Kamsa. I agree with Mr. Tri before that there's a lot of ways to disseminate information and knowledge on the green economy and other international issues to the young generation in Indonesia. First and foremost, in many international forums, Mr. Tri has said that they also include or initiate a special session or set of agendas that involve mainly the youth. We've seen MIKTA Youth Initiatives, we've seen ASEAN Youth Summit, we've seen in ICE Forum there was also a youth section. There's also many other youth platforms attached to the actual international forums and organizations. Secondly, we do also need to recognize that not all youth can access these platforms, not just because they're lacking in digital literacy, for example, but also the supporting necessary infrastructure to access these platforms, to access these knowledge and services. They also lack that in certain regions. Now, if we borrow some best practices from Indonesian youth diplomacy, we've organized Y20, we've organized ASEAN Plus Youth Summit. It's not enough to just disseminate the process and the output through social media or through academic discussions like this. Of course, this is effective to socialize it to well-educated youth, but what about the other segments of youth that also exist and need to know what's happening in these forums? Borrowing these practices from IYD, we've conducted roadshows to several regions, in far-flung regions of Indonesia. Perhaps we've reached as far as Papua, as far as Maluku, Nusa Tenggara. We hold roadshows there, inviting the local youth to actually not just get to know what happens in these forums, but also contribute their ideas as well. We've created spaces where they could voice out their thoughts, their opinions, their recommendations, and in that way, we not only just spread information one way to these youth, but also they could also be encouraged to participate more. If we create these platforms that are inclusive to sections of youth that are lacking in access to digital platforms.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Kenzi. Well, we have one question earlier that raised hands. Fadil. Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much for the presentation and for the opportunity to ask you questions. It's always fascinating to work and discuss with youth because they have so much energy, and we have to cultivate that and leverage it. MIKTA has been like for 10 years, and I want to know whether there's any lessons learned or best practices among the member countries on youth initiative that can be readily implemented in Indonesian context, bearing in mind that we also have our own cultural or social problems and challenges that is unique to Indonesia, and that's how we have to tailor the approach in Indonesian context, and like spreading awareness of the issues and is one thing, but encouraging the youth to participate actively and like make sure that our approach is appetizing for them is another story. So I would like to know, what do you have in mind that you think might be applicable for Indonesian context? And like, you know, youth have lack of resources, capacity, access to financing, whatever. They have lots of ideas, but if you don't give them resources, there's nothing they can do. And the government plays a very crucial role in this, like paving ways for youth to go and access fundings from private sectors, whatever, knowledge from academia and stuff like that. So it's not just like rhetoric, talking and talking. Again, it's just walk the talk. The government needs to do that more like actively. So maybe Pak Tri can share from the government perspective, and Kenzi can also express some thinking from the youth perspective. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, who wants to answer? Okay, Patri.
So, in fact, this is actually the time for the government to learn from the youth. I think you have to make the youth initiative. I think something fabulous. And as government officials, we never pretended we have all the solutions, all answers. Of course, we like to hear more inputs and insights from youths, from different groups or ages in the societies. It's always encouraging to see that the active role of the youth. You know, a week ago, the Indonesia Foreign Ministry, we hosted the Young Diplomats program in Jakarta. So we paid their airfares to travel all the way from MIKTA member states to Jakarta to have a better understanding. As I mentioned in my presentation, I think there are two common denominators of MIKTA is one, the middle power, and second is democracy. A lot of us take it for granted that we are living in a democracy. We are enjoying the benefits and the fruits of democracy. I was posted in an undemocratic country before, so I know we value what it means to be a democracy. So therefore, I think there's more commonalities amongst members, and I'm hopeful. I'm very optimistic that the youth between MIKTA can actually work together closely. We of course support this initiative. We appreciate what you have been doing, and theme of green economy is something that is highly on top of the global agenda. So I hope that amongst you will become leaders, and in fact you are going to be the leaders, and to focus what matters most and how we can contribute to the community. I'm very sorry if I can't answer the question, some of the examples of the youth activities of MIKTA Youth Program. Maybe my colleague here from the same department have a point of view he has. So that's what I have to say about MIKTA Youth. And in fact, this is an opportunity for us to learn from youth. It's very well.
Yes, of course. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tri. Okay, Kak Kenzi.
Okay. First and foremost, the youth generation is in a very awkward position regarding this, because there's a lot of societal issues that are burdened on our shoulders. Like, again, for example, climate change. Okay, the young generation, you will be, the one leading the world in the future. You should have solutions. You should fix the world in the future for your own generation and the future generations that come after you. And a lot of issues are like that. Meanwhile, the necessary foundation to solve those issues should be built upon now by the current generation, not ours. We lack the resources, access, and authority to properly do that because we're still in a young age, we're still processing, we're still in development. And what we can do right now is highlight the urgency of bringing youth voices and convincing that youth can actually deliver concrete actions instead of just words. Of course, we like the role played. Some of us here perhaps have participated in MUN before. We've talked the talk many times, but we would really, really want to also walk the talk, as Mr. Tri have said before. What we need is funding, we need access, we need support from credible institutions, and maybe one best practice that we could share directly related to Ms. Stelly's question before. MIKTA Youth Initiatives, this is the first time any MIKTA member country have conducted a comprehensive series of events involving primarily youth alongside the actual MIKTA processes. We've had this in ASEAN, we've had this in several other high-level organizations such as the Y20 alongside the G20 presidency last year. We're hoping to continue this MIKTA Youth initiatives as the presidency transfers to Mexico next year and to other member countries in the later coming years. But this requires a high degree of will from both the youth and the government. Also, again, requires funding. Everything requires funding these days. when we hold, later on we will hold the final agenda in MIKTA Initiative 2023 in December, where we will convene all the member country delegates in Jakarta. We will sign the joint statement, and we will present them to the government as concrete policy recommendations. All of those require immense amount of resources that could not be gathered by youth alone. That is why in this process of organizing this, we've approached companies, we've approached civil society organizations. Of course, we also collaborate with the government in holding these events so that we don't do this alone based purely on our willpower and our energy. Of course, Pak Tri earlier mentioned that the youth have a lot of energy in doing anything, but those bursts of energy also need to be realistically supported by funding and support from all sectors in society.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Kenzi. Okay, well now, are there any questions left? No? Okay, maybe I want to add a question again. I'm really sorry. For this time, for Mr. Tri only, I want to ask about. Okay, well, thank you, Fadil. How does Indonesia plan to implement circular economy policies within MIKTA? And what role do these policies play in the broader green economic agenda? Okay, thank you.
The questions are very difficult.
We were curious.
I have actually explained during my presentation. Basically, we all have our contributions, at least on advancing green economy. We have our shortcomings, but at the same time, I think at least we're on the same spirit on trying to achieve our goals in terms of green economy. And I think, for example, MIKTA, we have been able to at least to share the same understanding on the importance of knowledge sharing, for example, and I think there have been some events trying to promote more collaborations and cooperation amongst MIKTA members, even beyond MIKTA. Like I mentioned earlier, there was an event to promote the agricultural sector in Africa supported by MIKTA, so it's not just MIKTA but beyond MIKTA. And each country has its limitation, but at the same time has its advantages. And with some of the instances that I mentioned earlier, I think we can collaborate more, and we have to. The good thing is that amongst MIKTA members, we have a very strong bilateral relations to Indonesia, Mexico, Australia, amongst MIKTA members. So I think that's a positive sign, and we can improve. I agree, we have to collaborate more to promote so that we can at least share each other's knowledge and investment. Also important amongst MIKTA members. We hope that, did you know that 3 of the 5 members are predicted to be like the 10 biggest economy by 2045, 2050? Among them is Indonesia. So we're hopeful that through collaborations, innovations, and partnership, we can achieve that goal. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, okay. One final question. That's all. One final question. And again for Mr. Tri, I'm really sorry. Okay. So carbon markets has been a pretty big topic these days. So yeah, in what ways does Indonesia envision participating in carbon markets to address climate change concerns and promote economic growth? Just in your view, or maybe what we have done. Just a brief answer.
Yeah, the carbon market, I think, is driven by the line ministries, not under Kemlu. The lead focal is Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and also there are energy sector. So I think there is a new presidential decree, basically a regulation trying to facilitate the carbon trading between countries beyond transport trading. And I'm hopeful that because Indonesia has a lot of potentials, we are the third big country with the biggest tropical forests after Brazil, DRC, and then Indonesia. So I think we have a lot of enormous potentials. However, I think we just need to have more. Yesterday a group of young entrepreneurs came to my office. They want to have a talk with us, and they have plans to promote carbon trading, and they have MOU with the regional governments. So this is when they wanted to meet me, I said yes immediately, because I'm very happy to see them very promising. They have ideas and they have the technology to share with the local governments and how to promote the carbon trading and how we can benefit from this kind of potentials, because the world is moving very fast. And then I'm hopeful our Indonesian youth is moving fast as much as the other young people in other parts of the world. So I hope that we can be more ambitious. Don't worry too much if people tell Kenzie is ambitious. It's okay. Being ambitious is something positive, and we will support. Of course, the government will continue to support our youth to be leading youth leaders in the world. So I'm very hopeful that our youth can actually contribute to the development of the carbon market sector. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Tri. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it for the high-level panel discussion today for this session. Thank you so much for Kak Kenzie and Mr. Tri. Thank you for answering all of our questions and concerns, because we were curious. Okay, so now we're gonna hand a souvenir and take a photo session together. So yeah, let's move on to the front of the stage. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you may stand up now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Unfortunately, we have finally reached the end of today's event. We are very pleased to guide you through the opening ceremony and today's inspiring discussion. We really hope that today's discussion will give you beneficial knowledge resulting in new ideas to overcome the green economy challenges in MIKTA. Thank you for the audience, especially our distinguished guests, speakers, and participants of the high-level panel Green Economy discussion in MIKTA. Before we end this event, I would like to thank the Ministry of Youth and Sports and Indonesian Youth Diplomacy. Without their contribution, our event would not be as successful. Thank you for everyone for your attendance in this event presented by Green Economy Youth Organization. I would like to bid farewell. I'm Vera, Green Economy Youth Organization. You are green. You are the future.